Good day, Professor Adkins. Hope all is well. So, this is me recording my GE presentation. And so, for my general ethics topic, I chose the hardest question, which was the case study about the coronavirus on the New York Times. So, let's get right into it. Alright, so first I wanted to start off with a summary. And so, as I had earlier stated, the case study I chose to read about was the hardest questions doctors may face: who will be saved and who won't. And in this article, it focuses about on the outbreak of the coronavirus, which has taken over a good majority of the world lately. And one of the major problems that has come with the coronavirus is people needing help. And so, with the increased number of people getting infected and going to hospitals, there is a lot of people. There's a lot of people going to get help at hospitals, but there's not enough room in those hospitals and/or medical supplies to treat everyone that comes in. And so, the ethical dilemma is that doctors and other medical professionals are trying to figure out a way that they can to do the most good and save those people who they can and leave those who they can't save. It's a very cruel and sad reality for these healthcare professionals to decide what the fate is ultimately for those who are sick. But that's just the way it has to be. And there are several different plans that have been put into place all over the United States. But there is not yet one clear-cut plan that is used nationwide. So, now I'm gonna work through the story. So, the situation involves all the healthcare workers and the overcrowding of hospitals. And due to this outbreak of the coronavirus, hospitals have been filling up with people needing treatment, but there's not enough medical supplies for everyone. And this puts all the people who are trying to receive treatment at stake, and it calls for doctors to decide who receives treatment and who can't. And the ethical question that's being raised is, what is the best way to save the most people? So then, some tensions that arise with this is deciding on what makes people more qualified to receive treatment than others, and then finding a plan that can be used everywhere. The expectation is that everyone should be given treatment, but with the lack of medical supplies and doctors nationwide, is just not a reality that we can live in, and so some people must be turned away. Options is my next slide, and so options for the first one, the first option that was offered was first come, first served basis for those who need treatment. And so it is a very upfront plan that was put into place. But a problem with it was those who live far away from the hospitals just puts them at an automatic disadvantage as to those who live close to hospitals. Another option that was presented was based on the plan of the outcome-oriented approach and saving the most years of life, and that plan favored the youth in a very large way. And then the final option was to give each patient, a score based on their probability of survival. And so that plan is one that is most frequently used, although it's very difficult to have a concrete idea of what and how to score each person, but that is one that is used mostly. And so, resolutions. The best option would obviously be to use that ranking system because it is not possible to save everybody. So the focus should be on those who have the best chance of surviving. And doing the right thing for the right reason, however, is not the same. because in a perfect world, the best thing to do would be to save everybody. However, that is just not a reality that we can live in because there are not enough resources to save everybody. And finally, the U, how this relates to me. This relates to me because I actually have an interest in the medical field as I get older. And so this is something that I may face, not at this extreme of a level, but I might come across problems where I have to make tough decisions like this. So it was great to get that exposure to it. And I also chose this because I could see how trained professionals are handling a pandemic. It helps me give an idea, again, how to handle not a pandemic per se, but tough choices that I'm going to have to make in my medical career. So then I wanted to study the different ethical perspectives, or take a look at them. And so for the first perspective, I chose to talk about virtue ethics, which is the best thing to do. Which is the best thing to do when using virtue ethics. The virtue ethic perspective, would be to ask ourselves what we want done to us if we were in the same position of those requiring help. And the pros of this, it helps us to respect those that are in need of help and makes us see them as ourselves and as equal. But the cons of this is that it is not a realistic way to look at the situation because everybody is different in the type of health care that they're going to need to receive and the resources that are going to be used for each individual person. So the next one is deontology, which is, when looking at it through the perspective of deontology, it is the doctor's duty and obligation to help those and anyone who comes in that needs help. However, with the lack of medical supplies available to healthcare professionals and just not enough doctors to take care of each individual, it is a very complicated thing to do. And so it is not a reasonable course of action because the doctors and medical professionals cannot ignore. And so it is not a reasonable course of action because doctors and medical professionals cannot ignore the consequences of their actions because of the choices they make affect the lives of those people. And a big part of deontology is doing the right thing and not focusing on the consequences. And so that makes it an unreasonable thing to do. And then finally, I had utilitarianism, which is, from the perspective of utilitarianism, the best thing to do would be for the good and for the right reason. In this sense, the best option would be to save the most amount of people and work to raise the survival rate. The ethical perspective that offers the best solution, in my opinion, was utilitarianism. Because with the lack of medical supplies and treatment available, not everyone is going to be able to receive adequate care, and this causes decisions to be made, and the best decision would be in the interest of the greater good, which is the main focus of utilitarianism. And so, for my concluding thoughts, I just wanted to say that all in all, is a very tough situation that we're dealing with right now, and I honestly wish that there could be a way to save everybody. However, it is a very cruel and sad world out there, and so not everybody will receive the treatment that they can. So ultimately, I believe that the best thing that there is to do is to save those that we can and just try to raise a survival rate and then just keep working to find that cure. So maybe one day we can help all those other people. Thank you.